Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Should Have Been Read. Today I'll be doing the best movies that I watched in 2018. So let's just get right into it. So first and foremost, these are not in any particular order. These are just movies that I really enjoyed that I watched in 2018. The first movie that I want to discuss is Love, Simon, which is based off of the book by Becky Albertalli. So the movie follows a boy called Simon, who is your average typical teenager with great family, best friends, etc. Except for one little fact, that he is gay. It's a secret that he has not shared with anyone for whatever reason. He knows that his family, his parents will love him no matter what, but for some reason he has not felt comfortable enough to share the secret. And then one day, due to circumstances, he starts his online communication with another closeted gay student at his school and somehow form this relationship with him. A fellow student somehow ends up finding about this online exchange and proceeds to blackmail Simon. And then of course, drama ensues. So I've actually done a movie review on this film, so I will link that above in case you want to check out a more full-length movie review about this movie. So I love this movie. This movie was so good. This movie was one that gave me so much emotions, from like laughing with the characters to crying with him. Okay, not really crying, but like sniffling with him and with everyone else in the movie theater. And even though a good chunk of the movie was a bit cheesy, but it was so heartwarming that I thoroughly enjoyed it. This film also demonstrated a lot of important messages, such as learning to be brave, finding out who your true friends are, learning how important your family is, etc. And overall, end of the day, this movie was just so good. It was a really feel-good movie. If you haven't watched it already, I don't know where you've been, but definitely go watch it ASAP. The next movie that I want to discuss is Annihilation. This is considered as a thriller slash horror movie. So in the movie, the past 3 years, there has been this random sudden appearance of this shimmer bubble. No one really knows what it is, why it's there, where it came to be, etc. The government's trying to figure it out, the scientists trying to figure it out, and they've been trying to execute all of these expeditions to figure out what is causing it and how to reduce it because it's been spreading. So the movie revolves around a woman called Lena, who is a cellular biology professor as well as a soldier, who volunteers to enter this shimmer. After one day, her husband somehow ends up coming back from it. He's the sole survivor to come back from the shimmer. And the movie just really follows Lena as she and this group of other women go into the shimmer as an expedition to find out what really happened, what's inside, why her husband was the only person to come back, and what happened to him to become the way that he did. So this movie was such an intense movie. I really liked it. I mean, this is a horror movie, but the thing is, it wasn't really horror elements in it. There's like some elements to it, but it was more of, I guess I would describe it kind of like Jurassic Park, where you know there's a dinosaur right there and it's gonna like jump out at you and you know that, and it's scary, but it's not like the horror that I tried to avoid. So actually, a lot of my friends didn't want to watch it because it was labeled as horror, but it wasn't really that scary, I think. But anyways, the main reason why I love this movie so much is because it made me think so much during and after the film. It was just so much stuff going on, like internally and emotionally, I guess. And it was a movie where I was just constantly wondering what was going to happen, what was happening, to be honest. There's just so much stuff going on that you're just like, what? And it just really made me think, and it led to so many discussion questions, especially with my friends who have watched the movie. So this movie is also a very open-ended movie, as in there's some elements to it at the end where you kind of, it's up to you to kind of figure out what really happened and to interpret the way how you want to interpret for the ending of this film. And if you don't like that, then this movie probably isn't for you. And I usually don't like that. I don't like open-ended stuff where things are left to your imagination, but for this case I think it worked really well because it felt like the movie just kept continuing. Like, you're at the end, I'm still wondering, okay, so what really happened? Even to this day, I'm like, I think this is what happened, but I don't really know. It's kind of like Inception, where we had to watch it like 3 or 4 times before you really understood what really happened at the end. I think this is a movie where you need to watch many times to kind of be like, okay, I kind of know what's going to happen now, and or what happened at that time. So I really like this movie. It's such a mind bender, I think, and even though it's labeled as horror, it's not really that scary, I don't think. So give this movie a try if you haven't already. So the next movie that I want to discuss is The Hate You Give. I actually discussed this movie already in my like bookish, like booktube movie thoughts in a different video, which I will link above for you to check it out. So the movie follows a girl called Star, who is raised and grew up in a poor and predominantly black neighborhood. But on the flip side though, she goes to this prep school in an affluent part of town with predominantly white students. So she basically has these two worlds that are very separate, and these worlds do not collide with each other at all. So then one day she ends up going to a party in her neighborhood, and she ends up meeting a childhood friend that she hasn't met for a very long time. He ends up giving her a ride back home, and Somehow they end up getting pulled over by the cops, and there she witnesses the fatal shooting of her friend Khalil. And the rest of the movie just deals with the aftermath, how she deals with it emotionally, mentally, how the press deals with it, etc. This movie was such a fantastic film. I loved it so much. So this is a movie that was based off a book, as I stated already, that was written as a response to police brutality as well as the Black Lives Matter movement. I'm not going to talk about it again too much into it because it's such a good film, and I already discussed all of my bookish thoughts and movie thoughts in my other videos, so go check that out if you want to listen to more about it. But at the end of the day, it's a fantastic film. There's so many important messages that are discussed there, and I loved it so much. Then the next film that I want to discuss is Searching. I feel like this is a movie that has not been discussed a lot, and it's not a movie that was really like widely acclaimed or anything, because I feel like when I went to see it, I only went to see it because I saw a trailer on it. Otherwise, I wouldn't even have known that this movie was being played in theaters. So the movie follows a father called David Kim. He is a widowed father who is looking after his only teenage daughter, Margot. One night, she calls him many times for whatever reason while he's sleeping, and he wakes up to find many missed calls from her. He attempts to call her back, of course, but isn't really worried when she doesn't pick up because he just assumed that she went back to school. But then hours pass and he has received no responses from her, no phone calls, no text response, etc. And so he starts to worry. And the movie just really follows him as he tries to figure out and piece together what really happened to his daughter, and this nationwide search begins. So this movie was so much better than I thought. Like, everyone that watched it was really blown away by it. So the one thing that made this movie really unique was that it was recorded or filmed in these like video settings, like not a regular film. It was all recorded through like webcams, like video messages or video calls, etc. And so it's all about like the way how it's set up just seems really different than normal, and I actually really like that because it gave a sense of, you know, her text messages, the phone calls that they were going through, like the video like interviews, the webcams, etc. And it was just very unique, I think. And the best part was that there were so many plot twists to it that I really did not see coming at all, but now that I'm looking back on it, I'm like, okay, that made so much sense. And they kind of show you in the movie, like after it was revealed, all the little like clues that were hidden in the movie like prior to like the climax, and once you see that, you're like, whoa, like I did not see that coming at all, and it was just so good. And the thing is, like, I kept thinking that I knew what was going to happen. I thought I knew what had happened to Margot, etc. But then every time there's a plot twist that came on, I was like, wow, I am so wrong. Like, there were so many times where I was like, this is definitely what happened. Oh my god, I can't believe this person did this, or like, I can't believe this happened, etc. And then I'm like, no, that is totally wrong. But so yeah, this movie was just so good in that regard. So anyways, go watch the movie if you haven't already. It's so good. So the next movie that I want to discuss is Crazy Rich Asians. I already discussed this actually in my bookish like thoughts, book to movie thought video, so I will link that above in case you want to check that out. So it is a rom-com that features all Asian cast. It follows a girl called Rachel who has a boyfriend called Nick Young, and they've been dating for I think 2 years or something like that. I think it was like 1 or 2 years. Kind of differs between the book and the movie, but they've been dating for a little bit, and somehow she knows nothing about his family. One day he gets invited to his best friend's wedding in Singapore and asks her to join him to this wedding as his +1. And that's when she finds out that he is actually incredibly rich, and she is now thrust into a world that she's never even dreamed of. So now she has to navigate this opulent world as well as deal with all these cultural differences. This movie was so good. I mean, in terms of a rom-com, it's not so different from your everyday rom-com, but the reason why it stood out to me was, one, obviously all Asian cast, and two, the cultural differences that were stated in this movie. I really liked how the author and like the movie really depicted all the cultural differences between like a Chinese American versus someone from like Singapore or someone from mainland China, etc. Like all the differences were really well portrayed, I think, in this film. So anyways, I put this movie in here because, okay, yes, it's one of my favorite movies of 2018, but also because I just want to share it again because it was a really good movie. And then the last and final movie that I want to share is Green Book. I literally just watched it like last week or 2 weeks ago now. Such a good movie. The movie is set in 1960s in New York City. The movie follows a New York City bouncer called Tony Lip, who, because his club is under renovations, needs to find something like short term for the next 2 months. And somehow he ends up finding about this chauffeur job for a doctor, but he didn't realize that it was not your typical doctor, but a doctor in the arts and music. So his job is to drive the doctor around for the next 8 weeks for a concert tour through the Deep South. What he also didn't realize was that this doctor is also a black man, and so this guy is trying to find a chauffeur to drive him through the South, as well as someone who can kind of you know, end fights or end things if something happens. And knowing him and knowing the South at that time period, he knew that something was going to happen. Basically, he knew that there was going to be problems. And so before they set off from New York City, Tony is given this green book, which is basically a list of accommodations that are deemed safe for colored people in the South. And so as the movie continues, the two of them experience so many obstacles, either from outside people, like discrimination, or between the two of them, etc. And at the end of the day, like, they both changed so much throughout the film. It was just so heartwarming. I loved it so much. While I enjoyed this movie a lot, I do agree that a lot of the racial discrimination was a little too pretty in the way that it was wrapped up really nicely. And I agree with that, but I still think the overall message is really important and it was done really well. So my favorite thing about this movie though was actually Tony's personal growth. I mean, I'm not going to go too much into it, but he changed so much from the beginning to the end, and seeing how he changed and all the obstacles and all the situations that they face together was just so heartwarming to me. Another aspect that I really enjoyed was the humor. There were a lot of funny scenes in it, and somehow those scenes really help accentuate all the negative parts. So I don't really know how to describe it, but the way how the film is portrayed, there's a lot of negative scenes, and when there's something funny, it somehow helped increase the negativity of that scene. I don't know, it made it more serious somehow, because there's that dynamic between negative and funny, and I don't know, it just somehow worked really well with all like the humorous scenes in this movie. I don't think I'm describing it really well, but basically I thought the humor did a really good job with accentuating and describing and making the negative scenes even more emotional and portrayed even more realistically. I'm hoping I am describing this correctly. But anyways, that movie was so good. I mean, I really enjoyed it. And a lot of my friends who have watched the movie really loved it as well. So if you haven't watched it already, definitely go check it out. So these are the 6 movies that I really enjoyed that I watched this past year. Let me know in the comments below if you have watched these movies, if you agree with me, if you don't agree with me, let me know all down below. But as always, if you like this video, please do give me a thumbs up, subscribe down below. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!